One of the things that he said, who wants to be the last guy to die in a war? You know what I mean? And so he's one of the ones that they threw their medals over the fence down there somewhere. And so the Republicans stuck it to him. They destroyed his character. Although they came back later and tried to mend it, it was too late. So what that means is when somebody give you the shaft, they call it swiftboating now, you know. So he was swiftboated because that's what the thing was called. And I wanted to mention that because we're really living in a unique period right now. I mean, right today, this very minute. And so we want to constantly review ourselves, review our environment. Environmental and historical circumstances demand that you constantly review your environment and yourself and what you're doing, you know. And so that keeps you in touch with what we'll call reality. At least it'll be your reality or your organizational reality or your group reality. And since if you bounce it back between each other, at least there'll be a semblance of reality. Okay, now for us, we're right in the mix of this. It doesn't matter whether the other Muslims like Isna and Ikna and literally everybody, whether they pretend like we don't exist, it don't make no difference because we're right dead in the mix. In other words, they might have us by numbers 1,000 to 1, 10,000 to 1. I mean, they got people. But it don't make no difference because the part we're playing, we got a pretty good idea about where we're at in it. And just to remind ourselves, we gave a talk, what was it, Juma, about Suraya to the hills. That's a reality that Umar radiallahu anhu was giving a lecture, giving a khutbah, and in the middle of that lecture, he just moved out his hand and said, Suraya to the hills. Now I can imagine what the people was looking at. In other words, the record shows that he did that. That's the historical record. Now I can imagine what the people, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's tripping, you know, or something, you know. But then when they get back from Fars, they're discussing the battle and what have you. And the way it comes, and man, we was in a pickle, I'm telling you. And then all of a sudden, Suraya shifted our position from one place to another, and that was it. Easy street from then on. And they said, well, when did y'all shift? So, well, we was in the battle. We didn't go have no Juma prayer, but so we was in the battle. And said it was during the Juma, probably at Juma time. And your commander was Suraya down there? Yes, it was. They said, well, Amir al-Mu'minun shouted out during the khutbah. Everybody was sitting, we was all sitting there listening. We didn't know what he was talking about. But y'all shifted. Are you sure? Would you go over that stuff and see if y'all shifted at that time? And they all that. Yeah, man, wasn't you in it? Yeah, shoot, sure we was. We did. So that shows you that there's some type of inspirational engineering going on between Allah and the human family that don't have nothing to do with revelation. Well, they got three types. One's in words, one is minwari, hijab. The other is it's kind of like in a flash, where you get inspiration in a flash. I mean, it may solve 10 or 15 years of things you've been thinking about. And it just hits you just like that. You say, man, that's deep. Yeah, it's, okay. We all have that in some way or another. And then there's good visions, it's called, good visions, or minwari hijab, from behind a veil. You ain't getting revelation, but there's some deep stuff happening. And so those are the first two stages. The prophets, peace be upon them all, get all of those. They get it in words. They get the risala. Sometimes they get a risala, a book, and sometimes they just get the words. But they get the message in words. A little different than us. And I wanted to mention that because before during the khutbah, I might have mentioned that I just got a call from Iran that morning. I just got a call. And when I first got a call, split second, I was going to say, man, what you doing calling here? But I didn't. I said, Assalamu alaikum, this is Borna, I said, oh, just good to hear from you. How's everything over there? Da, 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 da. And then we started talking about some specific stuff, like, number one, I asked, well, what you doing now? Of course, I knew what he's doing. He said, well, I'm a lecturer, and I go around, I'm working, I finished my master's degree, I do this, that, and another. And so he said, well, the ideas that you have to try to convince the people here, which he says he does, about what you're saying being the truth. He said this, he said, there, everything is manipulated. But here, that stuff is not manipulated. When the Parliament is saying something, and then the principal is saying something, this is not, it may be a little coordination between inside of the group, but it's not like a design plan by the government. You see what I mean? What I mean is, we would go down and we would talk for several days about programs, thinking, you know what I'm saying, organization, structure. We would talk about that stuff all the time. And we would tell them how we had teach-ins in the past and how we, just to discuss it. Okay, one thing you could tell that didn't nobody down there want to hear that. Nobody wanted to hear it. And the most people would do was step back and check it out and then mumble a few words and go on about their business. Okay. But everything that we would say, it worked out just like what we was talking about. That these demonstrations is going to go along for a while, then they're going to shut down. Okay, now they're still having a few down there, but that's because the overwhelming events that are going on in the United States. In other words, they just continue to slaughter black people. And you can see the Israelism in it because they don't even want you to get mad about it, right? the way they put it, you don't even have a right to get mad and demonstrate. And then the demonstrations themselves. They say Portland has been going on for over 100 days. But they never make a clear distinction. Even Biden come out and said that violence is bad, this, that, and other. But they don't say, now, apparently these are the good demonstrators. Because the people have said publicly, we don't want any violence, we want to get our point across. And that's clear. You could see it on TV, you could see it, but you don't hear it like specific over and over again. What you hear over and over again is this violence is getting out of hand, and they playing old Don up like, I call it swiftboating, because when we left Juma here, right, and got back to the news, what we saw on the news, we saw Don has been swiftboated. Swiftboated. Okay. With John Kerry is one thing, but swiftboating for Don means what you done all heard in the news. Don said this about the soldiers. Don said the people in Belleau Wood. Man, Belleau Wood in World War I, good God Almighty, that was a serious battle. Argonne Forest and Belleau Wood was about the worst thing they had going over there.
Right, yeah.
Well, it was about 17,000 or 1,700. 1,700. Marines died in that. Now, some of the other battles right there, one of the reasons he didn't want to go to the French, see, remember the 369th and 371 was over there. Black troops, they spent more time. See, the black troops, I don't want to stray from the subject, but the black troops in World War I, they spent more times in the trenches and they were more decorated than all American troops. But they didn't fight under the American flag. They fought under the French flag. They were just digging graves, and the French say, you got to remember, the French and the British had been fighting from 1914 to 1917. The war ended in 1918. The American troops began to come over there in 1917. Everybody is tired over there. I mean, they tired. They didn't poison gas. By that time, they got trench warfare. You ain't going nowhere. All you do is sit there and bomb each other every day, and you just don't go nowhere. It ain't no flanking. It ain't no let's get out of here and shoot this one. They don't do none of that. So the most decorated troops was the African Americans in World War I. But the Croix de Guerre, they gave the whole troop to Croix de Guerre, and then they gave some individuals that's the highest medal the French got. They fought in French uniforms, they used French weapons, and they were buried by the thousands over there. Right? Not only was he talking about, he never mentioned them. No sirree. But he wasn't going to get close to them. It might even slip out. Well, you know, the ones that really fought here was the Negroes. And you know how bad the Americans treated them over there. And then they had music like, how you going to keep them down on the farm after they seen Paris? You know, this is after the World War. What they had you thinking that was about white folks. No. How you going to keep them niggas down on the farm when they seen Paris? And them white women loved them. Think of when you was growing up. Many of the mediocre jazz musicians and all of them, they went to Europe. Then they came back here big. They done got all their stuff together. Why? Because the French loved them. And then places like, when I went to Europe, first got to Europe, over here we didn't have discos in those days, but they had discos over there where you played the music. Why? Because in every nightclub here, African Americans had 2 or 3 groups that was like A-team for the Temptations. You know what I mean? They wasn't as good as the Temptations, but you close your eyes and you would, right in every city. So we didn't need that type of, in our clubs, we had good singing all over the place. Back to the subject. When they said about Donald Trump, well, he done said that the people that went over there to fight and get killed were suckers and losers. That's his style of language. Then Fox News, his home folks, Fox News verified it. And then they got one guy that's a holdout, General Kelly. When he was standing at the graveside of General Kelly's son, used to be his chief of staff, he said, why would they do that? What was in it for them? No, but look, okay, it does make no difference whether he said that. He said it for sure about John McCain.
Right, yeah.
Okay, he said that for sure about John McCain. So if they made up the rest, it don't make no difference. If they made up that to drop it on to bring McCain in there, see, they didn't even invite him to McCain's funeral. And he talked about John McCain, and he talked about this General Kelly, like on TV yesterday, and General Kelly, he was a loser, man. He was all squeezed out and all used up, and all of that. That's swiftboating. So now, but you got to remember, look at how they plan all of this. When I got the call from Iran, I was listening to what the brother was saying, and I was also paying attention to what we getting ready to say. And all of them are in sync. So he's saying that it's hard for him to convince the people over there about what's going on here, because he lived here all his life. He was born here, but he's an Iranian citizen, his parents. So what he did was, what he say he does. First of all, he's on that other team. He invited me down to Texas and other places every year, 2-3 times a year, to give a lecture on Malcolm. In fact, our thing, MSJ something or other, 4 Muslims for justice, or 2 Muslims for something like that. That's him and his partner. I got a call on his partner's line. On the phone, it have his friend's number down in Texas, but it says United States on my phone. So that means he called his friend, and then some kind of way they piped it. Anyway, I won't be able to give the whole history, but what I'm trying to say and build a story around is we're right in the middle of all of this. Not now, but we always have been. We're smack dab in it, up to date, And what he called me about was what they's getting ready to do. What this reminds me of more than anything was when we was at the little masjid around the corner, and the Murrow building was blown up in 1995, and they'd arrested a Jordanian for it. You know, they arrested a Jordanian brother, Arab brother. They had him in jail. Then I gave the khutbah, and I said it wasn't Muslims that did it, white folks did this. And I had hooked up the dates, something like April 19th. April 19th, that's the day you slaughtered the people in Waco down there. I think some kind of way I had hooked it up like that. And then, as soon as we came downstairs after Juma, you know, the news was on the radio, and they arrested Timothy McVeigh and all of that. And before that, I called the FBI. I said, look here, I got a tip for you. They got a tip line, right? So I got a tip for y'all. We don't want to hear it. I said, wait a minute. I guess my number was showing up, and they had it. No, that's okay. No, thank you. I said, no, y'all got it. I heard it on TV. It's on the radio. It's on signs. It's called the tip line, da-da-da-da-da. And y'all want tips to what happened in the Murrow building down there. And I got a tip. And so, well, we don't want it. So I said it anyway. I said, it wasn't no Arabs did that. It was white folks did that. And then I said what I wanted to say, but they might have got the end of it. Probably it was on 2-3 lines, so they probably got it. I said, you killed children at Waco. You burned them up alive. I said, that Murrow building, it hit right near the nursery. To blow up the nursery. Because see, white folks, if you see Irish when they bomb, the British, look, white folks, they don't play with each other. So if they killed them people at Waco, and all them other people knew it, they just picked a date and they blew up the Murrow Federal Building, and they had a guy already set up to take the fall for it. Why is somebody to take the fall? Because if there's nobody to take the fall, they're going to keep looking. And if they keep looking, it's like when you lose something in your house, right? And you go around looking for it and looking for it. How many things you find? You find a lot of stuff, right? Man, this stuff been gone for 5 years, and you find it. That's the way it is when you have an ongoing investigation. You find a whole lot of stuff. That's why when stuff happens, they have a fall guy ready to go. So they say, case closed. Why? Because if you look around, right, you got to give them an excuse to close the case. Because if they keep looking and looking and looking and looking and looking, they're going to find a whole lot of stuff, and they might find about you and other stuff too. So that's why Timothy McVeigh, he was a fall guy. How somebody going to be that smart to blow up that building and then be so dumb that they drive a car down the street with no license plate on it? It was too dumb. You know, so it was all. Anyway, let's get back to the Swiftboating. If you notice the way they're playing this on the TV, you can see that, what's the name, raised in the last few weeks or something, $30 million. I don't know how many millions without even trying. Biden. He didn't caught up with and passed old Don. Remember that we said that everything, if it's a chance for Don to jump into boiling hot water, he's going to do it. He's never going to do what he should do. That's his job. That's what he's hired to do. He's hired to do that. Okay, well, why would they hire him to do that? Okay. He was hired to give the Israelis what he gave them. He was hired to help the Saudis. You got to remember the Saudis. You got to remember the U.S. and its friends can do anything they want. It's all right. Me and you can't do that, but they can. So Saudi Arabia can slaughter people all day long. Cholera, all kind of disease. No problem. They can go to the Turkish embassy and take Khashoggi and just cut him up, put him in a suitcase and take him home. They bring the saws and all that with them on the airplane. They bring it on, right? And everybody, they say, that's what they do. Okay. Saudi Arabia and the Israelis hated that peace treaty, JCPOA, whatever it was. They hated it. They hated it. I mean, they was clear they hated it. Nobody ever could go through the Congress here and get a standing ovation over and over and over again. Maybe 17 of them at least. Huh? 17? It was Netanyahu. Believe it or not, I heard, I can't prove it. I heard when the Jews met down at the White House, they told Obama, okay, you can go. In other words, you don't need to be in on this. Did you hear that too? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's how much power they have. So they made, Obama followed orders except on those things. And the thing about Obama is they could have sold ice to Eskimos if they'd have played Obama right. Hey, this guy post-racism in America. That's what they was talking about. They could get him hired. They could bring him in, but they couldn't change them white folks down there. The other white folks down there, that their racism superseded all the other stuff they got. That's why the white folks down there said, we don't care what you come up with, we ain't gonna vote for it. And they didn't, right? Because of that racism was so deep, they hated to see him in the White House. It's a degeneration of what America stands for. And that black woman that's even darker skinned, she's a dark skinned nigga. And the kids is darkish too. And they sitting in the White House. The White House for white folks. Not the black house, it's the White House. And when they say White House, they mean all the stuff that go along with white, good, great America, and they don't fit it. And he did everything for him. You notice death amongst black people picked up a little bit, all that stuff. Yes, it did under Obama. But what he did was he wanted to cut the troops back, in Afghanistan. He wanted to cut them back. He dropped them down 3 or 4 guys, but he couldn't get it all done. He really wanted to do that. And even in Iraq, he brought a lot of them home. Okay. So what they said was, look, that treaty that Obama made, the nuclear agreement and what have you, and they was really working on that, because John Kerry and them was, hey man, they had that, they was serious about that. It's a great diplomatic feat, they thought. Well, the Jews didn't like it. That's why Netanyahu and Saudi Arabia got closer and closer to closer You see how close the Arabs and all them people are over there right now. Okay, the point is this. This election, when they elected Obama, they just thought we just get this nigga this is a good time to elect a nigga because the economy is heading down and it had just broke in 2008, man. But even my prediction was off because I said by July 2009, it's gonna slow down and slide. It didn't, no sirree. It kept on 2009, 2010, 2011. It didn't stop the slide to the end of 2010, and then it started coming back. By 2012, it had got back enough to where he could get reelected. So at that time, he had enough backup to do this JP or whatever it is. Look at what happened when they brought in this guy. First thing he said, he was against the treaty. It's the worst treaty that ever happened. Since it wasn't ratified by the Senate, it wasn't technically a treaty, it was an agreement. Okay. Therefore, it was an executive order, so if one executive give it, he can take it back, and he took it back. It's been bad luck for him. They moved the embassy to Jerusalem. To Jerusalem. They moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And this Netanyahu has been perfect for the Israelis, the Zionists. Don't worry about it. They have demonstrations every day to get rid of Netanyahu. So don't worry. All the stuff that they think they're getting away with, they're not going to get away with it. This election here, the whole thing, to skip a lot of fundamentals, is to make sure you vote. So as much as they mess up Donald Trump, they keep saying that if he do this, he might do that, right? The media try to keep it close. It's not close. Don and messed up so bad, right, that it's not possible. But the media keeps saying, if he keep it on law and order, if he do this, he might have a chance. They're doing that so you'll go vote. The whole idea, look at everything to scare you into voting. Not only to scare you into voting, but to produce Donald Trump's mission was to weaken the United States of America as a whole. Weaken it. Why? Because when it's weak, it's still big, it's still got its army, and it'll be more susceptible to the control of the Israelis, the Zionists. When you look at the bottom of this, it's the typical old-time divide, conquer, and rule. And this is not a regional thing. This is a global thing. And we're right in the middle of it. And when we put our finger on it, they have people call, it's stuff called from all over the world. I had a call from Albania. I had a call from, I don't know how many calls from Iran. And the stuff we was doing on this, going directly on TV on Iran, you see that they stopped it. Why? Because all we said, remember when we were down there, we want to thank the people of Iran for da-da-da-da-da. The guys that's running these TV stations, the big shots over there, that team, they want to break the heart of the Iranian people. See, they on, might call them the Israeli team, they on another team. These guys and the ones that's doing what they're doing, they've been on that team all along. Remember, I've been dealing with this crew personally. I mean, as far as Iranians go, there's no Negro in the United States that's been as closely tied for all of these years and more trusted than by the Iranians. Okay, so they have divided up. You know, after a war, after a revolution, they always have people, some are, like in the United States, they had the Federalists and they had the Whigs. They had different groups. Because the Constitution, we want a Constitution, all right, but then they got the states that said, we're not accepting that Constitution unless you accept these we got a whole Bill of Rights. They didn't ratify the Constitution until they stuck on them first 10 Bill of Rights. Right of speech, press, and religion and all that, assembly, and right, to challenge the system, redress the grievances. Okay. Donald Trump's job, and he's done, we said he's been 30% accurate from the beginning. But he has been a failure to produce a higher level to satisfy the people that put him in power. Therefore, now he haven't picked it up yet, but they didn't turn on him. And they ain't turned on him. That's just the way they do. They manipulate everybody. They got Don over a barrel. He can't say, they manipulated me, or they did this, or they did that. He can't say that. Why? Because he'd be telling on himself. He can't say it. Okay. So Don is over a barrel. What they want out of this now is, okay, we'll bring Biden in, and what did we get out of this? Okay, we got the embassy there. We got the, what's her name, to try to break the Iranians. But guess what? The world is more toward Iran because they survived. They miscalculated. They always miscalculate Iran. You know why? They miscalculate because they use their minds and their information. You know, during the war, you could pick up any cab driver. Any cab driver would pick you up at the airport, and he'd take you to your hotel. How things in there? Oh, it's so bad. It's this, that, and another. And the reporters would take all that, and they'd bring that back here. The dissatisfaction level in Iran is through the roof. Everybody, and this, okay, they don't know. Iranians are complainers. They super complainers. But they didn't look what was going on. At the same time they complaining, they are sending their children and they're sending the best pistachio nuts and packages all up to the war front. That's what they're doing at the same time. We see that, they don't know that. And then Iranians themselves, a lot of stuff they see, when you're an observer like we are, you're going to pick up on all kind of stuff. There are observers that know Negroes better than Negroes know themselves because they study Negroes. Hey man, when I went to Denmark, it ain't like that now. I would look in them white girls' houses. They would have every black book that was ever printed. And the Negroes just down in Germany and the army, they want to come up to Denmark for the weekend. Why? They can smoke weed and hashish up there. It's legal. And the white girls love them. So 1960s, 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s Negroes that are in the white man's army, and the white girls right up the street, train ride, right? You can go up there. A lot of them Negroes never made it back to the army. They got up there with Sweden, man, and Sweden and Denmark. They loved, I mean, the white girls would be after you. You didn't have to go find nobody. They'd be, ooh, there's some niggas here. And they had every book. I'm telling you, when I was there, Angela Davis's sister came there and raised, I don't know how much money for Angela Davis, you know, back in the, anyway, here's the point. They don't know Iran. Now, just to give you understand, this Uriah to the hills stuff happens all the time, but you have to pay attention to it. What about Arbain, that 20 million people, 25 million people? What did we say for years? Allah is preparing them for something. They don't know what it is. And America don't know what it is either. But they coming out by the millions. They have no idea. They think they're just going to celebrate Imam Hussein's martyrdom on the 40th day, Arbain, and da-da-da-da-da. But the minute they killed Soleimani, or martyred Qasem Soleimani, you could see it. What did I say? That's why it was right there. That's it. Finished. That's the whole thing. And what did it do? It unified Iraq and Iran, and they've been trying to break it up. They took both of those bodies to Najaf and Karbala, to Iran, Tehran, and all around. And every place, millions and millions came out. And it locked in. So for that period, and for now, that was to lock them in. And when they get locked in, there's nothing you can do about it, because you have to be careful with Shias, because you keep scratching them and scratching them. Pretty soon you're going to hit blood. And when you hit blood, all of what they've been hearing, the whole cycle of life, the fountains in Iran, when I was there, the first time during the war, was not water. Well, it was water, but it was red water. And they juiced up. They look, see, if you ain't never been through it, because that stuff is catchy. No, that stuff is catchy. You know, when I was going around doing all them lectures in the 80s and the early 90s, I was juiced up like them. I was visualizing martyrdom. I'm glad nothing happened, but I mean, you know, people do stuff to you. The white boy, we was dumping some stuff down on Railroad Avenue. I don't know if I told y'all. And the white boy came up, looked like a Hell's Angel with a 357 Magnum. He said, "Put that stuff back on your truck." So who the hell are you talking to? The brother that was with me, he was gonna go. I said, "Oh no, leave that stuff alone. What are you who you pulling that gun on?" So that was all made up. They were studying me. The white boy was part of the study, and the brother that was with me was a tattletale. He was part of, that's when they put on, this nigga here has a martyrdom mentality. That's what they said, no, he's got a martyrdom mentality. He's not, it just so happens that that's the way we was feeling at that time. And still, there's enough of it, resiliency, floating around to keep you ready, you know what I mean? You don't mind leaving. Okay, now I'm gonna get back to this okey doke that's going on right this minute. they're keeping the election. They're saying that the election is still close. It's possible to be close. It's not possible to be close. The people can turn against Don. And plus, the swift voting that they just did just knocks off, you know what I mean? But the press keep talking about it like it's close. Have you seen them? He got a chance. Joe Biden might be 9 points ahead, but he still got a chance. And they keep slipping that in there because they want everybody to vote, to be committed to the system. You see what I mean? To give them a feeling of empowerment. We did this. But to make sure Don can't win. Okay, Don is not going to win. If he do, they deserve Don. If they go down there and vote for him. And Don is muddying up the waters. They have a saying in Iran, fishing in muddy waters. If you muddy up the water, the fish can't see what you're doing. So you can actually snag them, you can catch them, easy, just by muddying up the water because they can't see what's going on. Okay. So that's what they're doing. Don is saying, well, I don't know, I may not leave. You ever heard of a president say, I don't know, I may not even leave? If y'all get acting like crazy, man, this is insanity. You got to think about it. Don, nobody even mentioned stuff like that before. Nobody even mentioned that the election ain't going to go right. If you, right.
Because of the send-in ballots.
Huh?
Because of the mail-in ballots.
Mail-in ballots and anything else.
Donald Trump told all his supporters to vote twice.
Yeah, to vote twice.
And then you go down there to actually vote there.
Go and then check on it. If they don't have your name, go vote again. Forget about, look, Don got a free ride. He done said stuff for the last several years that are impossible. Nobody could say any, not one thing. Obama couldn't did one thing that he did, and he done did. Fact check, they go, now they up in the 30,000s of, something like that. He done lied 30,000. Okay. He done talked against a great war hero. He's a coward. He's not a coward. He said, he's a loser because he got caught. I don't like guys that get caught. Right. Yeah. And he got 5 or 6 deferrents instead of going to Vietnam. He was Vietnam age. He's 74. I'm 75. Everybody in that age was going. Of course, I was in the penitentiary on and off, so I didn't have to go. But I didn't have no deferment. I just never registered for the draft, and they didn't want me to register for the draft. I guess because your penitentiary record pop up. But anyway, John McCain. John McCain is an American hero. Because even when they said, okay, we're going to let you go because you're Admiral so-and-so's son. He's Admiral's son. Because they made a big deal when they captured, we got Admiral so-and-so's boy over here. So John McCain, when they was letting them go, he said, let them go first and he got at the end of the line. He's an American hero. He actually believes in that stuff, the flag, apple pie and stuff. Okay, no, they do. He's an American. And not that on this healthcare thing, he put his thumb down on, remember old Don was trying to get rid of it. So Don talked about it. Yeah, this old guy, he ain't worth a dime. I don't like him. And he didn't go to the funeral because they didn't invite him. They didn't want him there. Okay. That alone, if this other stuff is not true, they know that's true, and that's enough. That's what swift boating is. That enough of it stick that you just don't make it. I was saying that because we have to think about where we are in this. This stuff is actually real. I mean, we're like in the front row of all of this. It's not possible for us to get a call from Iran in the morning of Jummah about that subject for the 50,000th time, because everything, all of the stuff that's revolving around what's going on in the United States right now, we're right on the front seat, but it's just that nobody's talking about it. That don't make no difference to us whether we're here. We're engaged, right, in this. People are paying attention, right? It's like they listening. I mean, of course they are. I mean, it's like they're paying attention. We're involved in the goings-ons in America today, and people are adjusting. I'm not saying 100%, but let's say a minimum of 30 to 35% of what's going on. They're listening and they're adjusting their behavior by what we're saying, or trying to con us into thinking one thing or another. You see what I mean? They even have a program. Two guys came here from, and the money they spend, don't worry about that. That's why that money is in a black box, and they can spend much money as they want. They sent a guy right here from Iran to right here to talk to me for 3 or 4 hours and go back to Iran, right? And that's all he did. Came here to talk to me. And I was talking to my homeboy over there in Iran about that the other day, day before yesterday. He said, "Can you say who it is?" They're on the same team, but they have, like they say in America, what do they call it? Need to know basis. He wanted me to tell him which one of those guys was. It was need to know basis. You can pick up on all kind of stuff. The guy that stayed right here in the masjid for a few days, came up from Texas together. I took him to the little town I was born in. He had a big camera and everything. They got it, all that stuff, you know. So he came up, and then what happened was, the way that they approached us was this way. Okay, if we can convince him that what he believes is happening, what he knows is happening, is really not happening. They deep in this stuff. If they can convince me to make a wrong decision or an incorrect analysis, you got to follow this. Since I've been right all the time, even he said, "Man, you batting 1,000." I said, "Just 900 and something," you know. If they can convince me to make an incorrect analysis, that might change the reality. That's the way they're thinking. That if they can get me to make an incorrect analysis, why do they say that? Because the nigga is always right. They already got that wrote down. And anybody that been here and listened to anything, whatever it is, you know, I'm not bragging about it, I'm just saying that's from looking and listening and studying. I mean, you know, it's just like, you know, with your nose to the grind, you know, studying it. So you're studying them. The people, no matter what they think, It don't make no difference what they think or how they assess you. You could hear Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui, what he said, right? Well, if he said that, why everybody go haywire as soon as he said it? Right? He said that, and everybody then zipped off and run off, cutting, trying to make sure that, okay, you're going to have a few more trips to South Africa, but you're not going to be in the main spot. We're going to put Muhammad Al-Asi there, and anything come up, even if you're doing it, we're not going to recognize that you're doing it. So if it's some big ambassador talking to a group of, activists, we think you have to pick up your game. Say it's Crescent or something. You have to be more, You have to da-da-da-da. And so that's right at the time, 2008 and 9, when strategic management under conditions of repression come out. I have to tell them to take this to him so he can see what it strategic man, all of what he's talking about, that's what we're doing. Right? And they know it. Muhammad Al-Asi know it. They all sitting in there listening. And the man is telling them da-da-da-da-da. So this stuff about Soraya to the hills have been going on a long time. And the Iranians know it, and the government know it, because my job for all those years, you have Iranians over here in America, and everybody hates them. And every Negro around them. When I came to D.C., the first thing I did was, I didn't tell nobody who was the Negroes here that worked for the Iranians or with the Iranians. I know those are the tattletales. Because then the government of America, if they do that to us, what you think they're going to do to Iranians, right? Every Negro, I don't care how much you like them, they was under the control of the government. And then, okay, so that means that the government of the United States have a big control with the Iranians that's running around. Now remember, what was my job all of those years? They're all by themselves. I have to go around, of course I spoke a little different then, and I motivated them, and I kept them focused, and I kept them juiced up. And remember, they was kids in those days. They was just young people. They was young students in their 20s. They was here, now they're in their 50s and 60s, but that's what they was then. And that was my job. And I knew what my job was. Because remember, I done been through this before. So I know what's going on with them. I know what the government is doing. They don't know. They sharper students in the U.S. at that time because they were under more pressure. So that's going to make you sharper. So they were sharper. MSA, PSG was sharper than ISNA and all them Saudi lackeys. No, they were sharper. They could pick up on all this, a lot of this stuff. So we have a 40-year record with the Iranians and with the government. That's why when the FBI ever came here, it was always in reference to Iranians, not in reference to Negroes, right? It was in reference to Iranians. Okay. So now they have to try to run interference. They got to fool me. So we got all the U.S., they developed whole groups and organizations. Everybody that was in our group, everybody, let me repeat that again because we'll just say almost everybody out of the 10 masajid that we had and out of the 8 functioning at one time, right? Where's all those people at? Where are they all at? They all had Bayer to me. Just like y'all read about Imagine. They all had Bayer to me. Yeah. They all had Bayer. All of them, including Abdul Malik, Mukhtar, everybody that you see on all those pictures, I'll bring them here. They had Bayer to me. But I accepted it, but I didn't think it was real. In fact, I knew they was lying. I knew they was all lying. Not only was the Sunnis lying, but they had a great organization out there. You remember the brothers that you saw down at the ISNA thing? The young guys, they was Indians and mixtures of Indians. They were the Shia crew. We call that headquarters in LA. At one time, they ran that. But they were also part of, just like the ones that are here now, that are Uncle Tom's, they ran that out there. But they didn't think I knew they was running it. They just, but I knew because I could tell. And I could definitely tell what happened to them after. And I could tell how some of our people related to them. Okay, let me try to get back on track here. So here we are right now. We're living in this world, in this environment. When it talks about write our own book, you know what I mean, and write our own future, design your own future, that's exactly what we're doing. For me, there's some little things like this. Define what willpower, focus, endurance, toughness, etc. looks like at 75. This is me. I have to do this. This is what I'm doing myself, right? Age and expectation. I ask questions all the time about age and stuff, just to see what people are going to say, There's a part about aging which relates to age. There's also a part of it that relates to attitude and outlook, right? So, how do we want to be reflected at 75? And what do we want to look like when we get to 100 plus? Of course, that's in Allah's plan. We planning for it, but I'm not saying it don't make no difference, but since we're going into the future, we might as well plan for it. I'm happy with what I got. I take the 75 and feel like I done lived a good life, or better than most, so it's fine with me. And got a shot at paradise. That don't mean you're going to guarantee, but you got a shot. You know how good that is? You got a shot at paradise. They can say what they want, okay. So, what do you want life to look like at 75? Right. So that means you just go right back through it and you go through, well, what do you have to do? Your training, what time you get up, how much physical fitness you do, right? About your attitude, preparing your attitude, what ayats and hadith and all that you're going to allow to saturate your brain. All of that stuff is included in it. And one of the main things is your attitude about all of this. So, now I'm just talking, the reason I'm talking about myself is, remember, we have to teach people how to do whatever we done did. We have to teach them how we did it, and this is a teaching experience. So right now I'm saying, this is what I'm doing myself, so that if somebody else want to do it, later on or what have you, they can do it. All of what we've been doing over the last decades have been for that reason. Because we looked at everything and we said, Imam Jamil said he was surrounded in 1983. That's what he told me in 1983. And I already had experience, and I know when I was in South America, I know that the people was the police. I already knew that. Then when I got time to think about it, I looked back at the whole history, and I said, well, this happened, that's the thing about longevity. Boy, you get anyway. So right now, how do we want a life to look? What are the conditions? So if you look at right now, if you look at 6 months ago, I was up on the roof wobbling around. Of course, the government help you wobble, I mean, you know. Yeah. But right now, if you notice, everything is smooth. It's because of a few little simple things. Back on a certain, not back on a certain, a certain physical fitness program. Little stuff like this, a clipboard, and these pages right here. So before you go to bed, you got your little schedule for the next day and all your stuff. So when you get up, boop, you just pop up and off you go. Okay, right now we're coming out of coronavirus stuff. You know, you may have been going to bed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Because you can do whatever, you can work on, but that's not as efficient as early to bed, early to rise. Makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's Benjamin Franklin. Not that we follow Ben, but it's true. Early to bed, early to rise. When you get up early, man, you get up at Fajr time and cruise around, and you got by the time 10 o'clock rolls around, you done did a whole ton of stuff. But if you get up at 10 o'clock, cause of coronavirus running around, coronavirus, whatever it is, right? The day is almost gone. So, all you do, you just retooling. What did you want it to look like at 75? You're in charge. The things that you're in charge of, this is what we're going to do. Oh, man. And yesterday must have been the nicest day in the world history. It was just nice. The air was clean, and, you know, all the wind and blew and rain and blew all the smut out of the air. I said, man. So I said, shoot. You kind of lie to yourself. I deserve a day off. So I'm going to just play like I'm working and right? It just, you know, every now and then it's good to do that. But also at the same time, re-explain to yourself what all of this vocabulary, what it all means. What does willpower mean now, you know? So willpower means, and you put your meaning onto willpower. But willpower relates to discipline, endurance, self-control, and all those things. What does it mean at 75? I was looking at an old book the other day, and it had, you know, every day I'd run, I said 10 miles, 8 miles, and he had certain notations that mean you ran 13 miles because you ran all the way around the lake. all the way up in the woods and all the way down these other trails, which is nice running. But when you get older, so now you could take a nice stroll over there, just go up a little hill, down a little hill, enjoy yourself, do your little physical fitness. Why? Because you want to make it to 100. If you tried to run like all you'd be, then wore yourself out. I was lucky I didn't wear myself out all them years of running 10 miles a day and 12 miles a day and 8 miles a day with hand weights and plastic on, and pull up your plastic, and a quart of sweat comes out. And sweat at first has a salty taste, but you can sweat so long you don't have no taste no more. Why? You done sweated all that poison out of you, right? Anyway, so what does it look like at 75? Right. Study the effects of continuous interruptions in goal attainment on personal habits and behavior. Now, the white man study you, you study them. If I go to California, okay, they send a crackpot down and they interrupt I have a goal to do certain things, and they interrupt it. I go and I pay the masjid, I do all this stuff, and then they take me to jail. And I get out, I go back. So like in California, the last time I went to jail 4 times. I wanted to go to jail 4 times, get the paperwork built up. So if you notice, I never called nobody. I just go to jail. And I might mention it later. Yeah, I just went to jail, and here I am. Okay, so this is what I want to do. But now, what is the effect on your behavior? You got to think about it. They studying you. We doing stuff to them. They doing stuff to us. Okay. If you go to jail 4 times, how does that affect your momentum and what you're doing, your focus, right? How much does it disturb your focus? It's going to have some effect now. Even though you want to do it, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But how much? So you have to study yourself. Just like if you study everybody else, remember what the book says, know yourself. Know your enemy, 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. So you are evolving, developing human being. So you have to study your own evolution so that you can help manage your own evolution. And evolution could be a goal in life, that I continue to evolve, I continue to improve, I continue to get better all my life. And if hopefully if you get lucky, you're going to get a little older. Okay, if I start getting physically weak in one area, then I can shift it to another area, right? Improvement. So if you're getting physically weaker, you can develop your spirit, and definitely spiritual stuff start kicking in the older you get. In fact, if you study people, older people are happier in general than younger people are. Because when you're young, everything, my nose is too big, people are laughing at me, and that stuff is real. And you're insecure. And the prettiest people is the most insecure. I got fat hands. Ain't nothing wrong with your hands. You can't see it, but they are, right? And the skinniest people are what they eating and throwing up and all that stuff, right? The people is crazy. But that's the way you are when you're young. Very few people who are young and, hey, man, this is me. And when you get old, I don't care how big your nose is. You done had it so long, you accept it. I got a big nose, so it ain't no big deal. And when we young, boy, we sharp. Everything got to be just right. when you get old, you see people with the red on this side, blue over here, they look like a flag, right? All they do is be buttoned up where they stay warm, but all that other stuff, checkered pants. I said, boy, I hope I don't get like that, but they don't care, right? You can take it or leave it. I don't care. You know, what you think about ain't gonna have no effect on me. I ain't gonna get no older or no younger or no uglier or no prettier. What you do, right? When you get old, you get into that, and the older you get, the more you get like that. That's why older people are happier than young people should be the happiest, but older people are generally happy. One more thing, I'm gonna change the subject just for a minute. Older people have a lot of things going for them. When they used to, in World War II, they'd had these convoys, and they'd be going to Europe, and they had the merchant marines. So the U-boats were sinking as many boats as they could, right? And you know, in those days, they had all them lifeboats, and they would come by, they'd be picking up tons of people on lifeboats and everything. You know what they found? They found more old people than they did young people. And the young people, they got a longer life in front of them. They're stronger, they're able to hold on better than, they got more muscular strength than the old people did. Well, why they finding old people? Their studies showed this, that those older people, they just went through depression, they had lost this, that, and other, you know what I mean? And there they were, alive, and all they had to do was hold on. So they just had their hand on the log and they just locked in. They just locked in. All they know is, I just hold on. It's gonna get better. But the young person, I'm tired. I've never been this tired before. And he let go and slip on in the water, right? So getting old have a lot of good things to go. First, it's good to get old. That's the thing. Anyway, let me get back to study the effects of continuous interruption in goal attainment. The way they try to produce frustration in animals and rats and in human beings is to foil your goals. Your goal is to get over there. So they put obstacles in their way, right? They try to divert you. So, now suppose this happened continuously in life. So, what are you going to do? How will it affect your behavior? Well, you have to change all of those obstacles to opportunities in your mind. Anything happen, it's opportunity. Whatever they do, I'm gonna find some good in it, right? Whatever boss man do, I'm gonna find some benefit in it. When you train yourself to approach life like that, can't nobody do nothing to you. Can't nobody even threaten you, you know. Why? Because whatever you do, hey, I'm gonna turn it into an opportunity. There's some good in that, right? That way of thinking prepares a person or a people to face challenges, and they look at them as opportunities. So that's one of the keys. No matter how continuous the interruptions in your goal attainment is, you can affect your personal habits and behavior by how you look at things. White folks call it a reticular activating mechanism. It's supposed to be a net-like group of cells in your brain that they relate to threats or value, right? And so, if it's a family in the house and the little baby is they're sick. There can be planes flying overhead, all kind of noises. Nobody will wake up. But if that little baby that's sick cough a little bit, the mother wakes up, boop, right away. That's the reticular activating. That means that cough could be a threat to the baby's life and everything else, so she's going to wake up right away. If you're in a crowded room and it's all kind of noise going on and people way over in the corner whisper your name, yeah, little Johnny, such and such. He can almost hear it way over there, right? Why? Because it relates directly to him. It could be a threat, it could be a value. Yep. You throw that ball out, and guy's running down the way, and he said, ball. He turn around and grab it. There's people in the stands jumping up and down. Some of them football, it could be 100,000 people. They could be calling your name. Go get them, go get them. F you, F you. They could be saying anything, right? And you ain't paying no attention. Only thing you locked on is the things that are a threat or a value. That big lineman, 400 pounds, as fast as grease lightning, coming to tear your head off, right? And here come the ball. So, right? And the guy, I guess they do still say, ball. And you look around, because they still do that? Yeah, when the ball is right close to you, you're just running. Then he say, ball. So you know, and the way he said it's either over this side, over that side. So he turned and he got it. Without wasting time looking at it, he just, and the guy throw it where he figured. And then all you got to do, you got the ball, there's a goal line, there's a win, and there come a couple of them 400 pounds. And the guys, I think now, weigh 400 pounds are quicker than they used to be. And then they jump all up and down. When they get you on the ground, all of them come. They still do that in football. They just jump all on you. They say, man, look, I'm already down. Right? They should say, I'm already down. All 5 of y'all don't have to come. They still do that. They just pile on the poor little guy under there. I said, man, them guys is cold-blooded. But it's a threat or it's a value, right? So that's the same thing with life. There is some differences in our study, in our research, in approaches to life and attitude. It really has an effect, I'm not going to get into it, but we have this is the qadr of Allah. That's all I can say about it. But we have stuff we got to do. We really like, you got to look at where we are now. It ain't nobody where we are. It ain't nobody never been where we are. Not even close. Nobody's never been where we are. And nobody has been as long. Longevity, King 13 years, Malcolm 13 years, 1952, 1965, 1956, 1968, stuff like that. How much time did they was both 39 years old. We had a lot of game when we was 39, but it ain't the same as now. It's not the same as now. Especially when you have Islam, you have a collective, but you have a personal human development program. Right? The Quran Hadith, they are personal development program. And if you're using it as that, That's what you're doing. You're personally helping to shape, fashion, and form who you are. And then when you get that way, you're rebuilding yourself. And okay, here's the point I'm making. We're getting ready to take off, but we have to, we have, when I see brothers that have been gone a long time, and they come back, I'm sorry to say, they're good brothers, but if you look around, you don't see them. From the movement, there's still some of them that are alive. Where are they? 30 or 40 years in the penitentiary have an effect on you. Your people leaving you alone when you need them have an effect on you. All of our brothers have been through that type of thing. Most of the people might have been in what they was doing for the style, the time of life, you know. Remember when everybody was wearing Malcolm hats and stuff? They brought him in style because they know we bring him in style, bring out a movie, they come in and they go out of style. They did Malcolm like a style. So if you came by in 95 with a Malcolm X hat, so what is that, man? That's out of style. 92, whenever it was, right? That was what's happening, man. But now it's out of style. Our people in the black days, a lot of people, it was a style. Black power, everybody's doing it, right? Everybody's dressing like that. So they dress like that. They do their hair like that. But they have not developed as human beings like that. Can you imagine most of our people, if you wanted to study why did our rebellion, why was it not successful? It wasn't a lack of population and all of that. We never had a chance. Who the hell, we didn't even know what a revolution was. And then they would take people that was semi-revolutionaries, like the last poets and all of that. The revolution won't be televised, and then they have Gil Scott-Heron, which is a heroin addict, saying it, right? They may take people that make music like Professor Griffin used to talk about pawns in the game and all of that, you know, and all of a sudden they gone, and everybody else is kill that bitch, shoot that nigga, gangster rap, right? Where did that stuff come from? We went from holding our people and women in esteem and we can do it and all that nice stuff to shoot that nigga, bump that nigga, F that nigga, right? Dog, man, what happened? The people, they don't give a... Okay, with all that going on, we done escaped all of that. Therefore, we're unique. But being unique means we got to do the whole show. We don't have to, but if we don't do it for this period, it won't be done. If we don't do it for this period, this won't be done. Black Lives Matter, they just Black Lives Matter, they run around and, you know, all of them, the way they're acting, they don't know, they can't know what they're doing. Right? They clearly, and they were selected to do that. It's not only them. Why is every movement silent? Why do people in Answer Coalition have a few demonstrations, then they're in the alternative media doing all that talking? Why do people load over the WPFW and talk, right? Why do they do that? Some of the people go over there. I had people from here go over there, and they do everything but call you, and you might be the only one alive that know any of the people they be talking about Black August. You could be the only one in the region that knows any of those people they talking about. That, I mean, know them, hang out with them, worked with them. He won't call you. You go to Berkeley, last Malcolm X program I went to, one of the curly-headed crew, this is one of the curly-headed crew right here. Right here, it says Dr. Scott Ritter. This used to be Wali. So I get a phone call from, used to be a black woman that was on this local, she used to, what's the name of them over in Baltimore? Yeah, okay. So they called, say, Brother Scott Ritter is gonna be here. I said, Scott Ritter, doctor. I said, oh, you mean Wali? We want you to come over and out there at, what's the name of it? ISWA. We want you to come over and introduce him at the program. He's going to give a big speech out there. He came back from Dubai or somewhere. He's over there teaching. He's one of the curly-headed crew. So now we had sent him, and he was married to the curly-headed crew girl, you know, Zakia. He was married to her. We sent him. And we'd had sent what's the name up there to Seattle area. The whole curly-headed crew we sent up there with books and everything. Opened a little center. Hashim Alauddin. They was all up there. The whole curly-headed crew was up there. Okay. So once you come out and he's gonna be here this evening. So I said, okay, I'll come on out. So I came out, and so he was in our masjid before. I say, y'all know him as Dr. Scott Ritter. We know him as Brother Wali, and we're happy to have him here. And so the show's up to you. So he gets to talking. He's out there with Faisal Khan and them, and they doing this on purpose. He breaks into the filthy Zionists, worse than we talk. And all the conspiracy theories, he's running them. He's not even talking about no medicine. See, medicine. Medicine is sin. If you practice it, it makes sense. But anyway, he ain't talking about none of this. So as he's going on, their eyes is getting big, they paranoid. This is where they acted. So, Imam Musa, you got to get him down. I said, I didn't put him. Y'all called me out here. I don't have nothing to do with this. Y'all called me. Then now they're trying to blame it on me. I said, y'all invited him. He came from Dubai or somewhere, hell. And they want me to. So I'm not laughing, but I know it's a setup. I know it's a setup. So, yeah, I mean, he's conspiracy theories, us times 3. You know what I mean? Or he's like, what's the old guy, the white guy on TV? He's like Alex Jones plus. And he's talking like that too. And I'm saying, good God Almighty, what happened to you, Brother Wali? I'm just looking at him. And they're fixing it so I can't come out there anymore. I done been out there 2-3 times with a box. I'd like to make an announcement about something or other. Sure, you can come back on such and such a day. I come back as a guy there got a box about Syria. I said, oh, okay, when can I come back? Talking to Brother Faisal. You could come back on this date, and he writes it on the calendar. I come back, something else is going on. I forgot. I said, see the calendar right there? You wrote it down on the damn calendar. And then I told him, I said, Faisal, don't let nobody steal your akira. In other words, them guys out there, he's the MSA guy from the old days. So don't let them jokers steal your akira, man. You know me, you know what's happening. And don't let them, I was telling him, you getting old. He's about 79 then. I said, you getting on up there, brother. So you got to switch to good, much good as you can get under you. Not all these lies. Anyway, the curly-headed crew, Hashim Alauddin, when I was at UC Berkeley a few years ago, who's handling the program? Hashim. Who's acting funny with with Malcolm when they go down and what's her name? Hashim. That whole crew, when they pull up out here, all that whole crew. In other words, this stuff has been going on for decades. For 40 years that I know of. I mean, on the Islamic tip. So they understand who we are. But can you imagine that every avenue of information in the United States is closed off to the public? What does that mean? That means ICNA, all the big groups are all under the same umbrella, and if you ain't on the team, you're not going to talk there. You're not going to get a chance to say anything. That's the way it is. That's the way it is right now. Now, the other thing is, imagine that the system uses all of its power to crush the motivation and the spirit of our people. And supposing you on the run, maybe up in New York or somewhere, maybe in the late 60s or early 70s, late 60s, and you part of the BLA by then, and then suppose they send a woman from Canada or somewhere, anywhere, to marry you. Why? Because you're on the run, and once they get a girl up under you, it's all over, right? I have a friend, he said to stop sending money and stuff to his wife. I said, good, he's got the idea now. He knows, good. Finally, I mean, it's late, but better late than never. How the hell do I know? Because the people I'm with here, I can see who they get along well with. They like so-and-so, that's the police. Why? Because they the police. It's as simple as that. They don't like me, but they like each other, right? That's too simple. It's too simple. Okay. Now, this stuff is, people think is risky business, but business is a risk. But working fi sabilillah is not a risk. It's not a risk, because you don't do no risk management, there's some management involved in it. For instance, if there's a nice lady in the curly-headed crew, and you may not, you can see how things develop, but they might have reformed in all those years. You know what I mean? They may, by that time, made a transition. Or they may be stuck where they are, just waiting for you to say, well, finally we'll get together and do these things that they might be, boss man will put them there and they'll sit there for 5 years, 10 years, however long boss man put them. Because marriage to other people, oh, we love each other. But the white man have people all around here marrying, divorcing each other all the time. And they have kids, and it ain't just part of the thing. It's part of the routine, right? Because that's their job. Okay. Now, in the middle of all of that, it is not a risk when you, now let's add up where we are right now. We got to evolve, and we believe we should evolve at a rapid pace because what's going on. You see what I mean? In other words, just cruising along. Now everything that we have acquired, we have to get it out there. And therefore we have to have the apparatus, we have to have the media, we have to develop that on our own now. We have to develop our own media. We have to develop not only me, but a group of people that get around and put this truth out. You see what I mean? In other words, we have to do that. We don't have to do it, but according to our plan, according to the environmental circumstances we find ourselves in, it behooves us to move in this direction. Why? To move in this direction because that's where we are now. You see what I mean? That's where we are now. So therefore, since that's where we are, that means we have to evolve ourselves. Now, the last time we was at this stage, we played the regular old game with Boss Man. We had him do it. Why? We knew we were surrounded. Okay. So, what did they want? They wanted for me to be a figurehead. They have everything around me, right? But I'm a figurehead. I have no authority because everybody I'm going to, maybe, whatever they are. And it works out that way because why did everything in Oakland, why ain't nobody, you mean in all of the California, out of all the tons of programs we had, out of all of that we was doing just in California. Forget about Arizona and Washington and Oregon, just California. At all them universities, at all those massages, right? I could show you pictures of hundreds of people at our rallies and everything out there. Where are they at? Where are they at? Where did they go? Right here, all downtown. You go back a few years ago, we had big screens. Remember them big screens? They see you in person, they see you on the screen. And we was in harmony with everybody around here. Dial Hydra, all out there, everybody, right? All those big demonstrations, right in D.C. What happened? Everybody forget, right? At that time, they were sure of one thing, that we're going to have him as a figurehead, because all they people, they got control of him. So we put together good a package as we could, and we just played along with it. Oh, we're just a figurehead. But as a figurehead, we got to go here and there and, make certain points. And we play like we don't know nothing. right? Then all of a sudden, at a certain time, we say, okay, jig is up. As soon as we say that, they pull back everybody they got, all at one time. That's what happened. That's why when you come here, you don't see nobody. That's why no matter how many people is watching that, right, that's good for them. We hope that it becomes a mechanism for improvement. But here we are right now. Here we are right now. What do we do, right? Well, it's very simple. What did we do? We redefine. We can't run the old okie doke that we just ran on them, you know what I mean? Just we can't run that again. And we told them what we was doing, so we would have to evolve. You know, we do stuff where we have to evolve, right? So we can't go down that way again. So we close that trail off ourselves. We close it off ourselves, so we will, right, can't go down that trail again. All right. So now the redefinition. We have to redefine what endurance is, what toughness is. And we have to train ourselves on a higher level. You know, like if you're in good shape, if you do stuff, you're not in the best shape at all time, right? Sometimes you just let yourself cruise a little. You know, then when you get ready, you tighten yourself. I don't even think it's good. They don't even keep the Army and the SEALs and all of them in tip-top shape all the time. They let them relax a little bit sometime. Why? Because when you relax a little bit, right, then you get back. When you get back, you just on 80%. You ain't went nowhere. If they call you, you can go. Then you pop back up to 95%. You know what I mean? And the same thing in this. You can return to a functional period almost any time you want. I call it technically, personally, I call it functional ecstasy. Ecstasy, where you're just happy as you can be. But it's functional, not right, LSD trip, stuff like that. No, but you just functional. That's where we are now. That's where we are now. That's part of our mission right now, because that's where the community and that's where the world is. The people have no idea about Donald Trump and about the Democratic Party and Swiftboating, and they don't know that, right? You don't even hear that. And in Iran, where they know it's true, a crew that know it's true, they want to convince us that what we see is not true. So they can tell them people, like some of the big shots said, I see in those people a look of, and I said, I don't see that. Them people, they're just, I say in those demonstrations, maybe 25% of them might be all right. But I say, Black Lives Matter, I saw all them Negroes, they avoid us, right? They don't want to see us. The only people who respond to us down there is the police, right? Well, just imagine, we there with the microphone. Okay, this is a choreographed fight. Now, let's see, he throw the bottle, and now he's gonna go get him, and watch this, and then here come our homeboy with his shirt off. Come get me. And so I told you, there you go, right? And then the police is right here, right with us. I mean, not with us, but they're right there. They didn't move them where? 1 foot away from us, right? Right downtown, across from the White House. They didn't move us one, And then when we out there on Black Lives Matter Square, whatever it is, and we are talking to the people, the Black Lives Matter kids walk right by us like they ain't seen us, and they don't want to hear what we're talking about. They don't want to gain no experience, because everybody out there, everybody involved in that you see, is part of this process. That's why the brother in Iran called me the other day. He said, they don't believe in America all of that stuff is choreographed, but they don't believe it because here that stuff is not choreographed. You see what I mean? If they have a real fight over there, it's a real fight. But if they have a fight over here, it's martial arts. You know, okay, it's like wrestling. Yeah, that's the best, right? It's like wrestling. No, it's clear here. It's all, look, and whatever, wherever we go, but you got to remember, I'm going to say this in a minute. See, everybody been watching us. Now, there's a group of physical police. Now, the physical police, how do they treat us? Hey, how you doing? Even, As-Salamu Alaikum, right? Right? That's the way the physical, and they follow us around to make sure, or they cut us off in the street. So, like I say, when I go over there and run, they right over there. I said, these boys ain't trying to scare me. They trying to let me know that they almost got my back. You know why? Here's where we are in the world today. It finally come to the point where it's that the Zionists take over America, or America protect itself. Remember, the enemy of our enemy is my friend? The police done watched us so long, not so long, it's been from way back, but they know us. They know it. They know we ain't going for nothing. No, I don't want that. I'm not going, I don't care what you, I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. Well, there's something in it for you. Say, hell, I don't want that. I don't do that. Right? They already know that. So they know whatever we tell them, that's basically what it is. Okay? They're not quite like that. They're part of, they got whistleblowers in the system, but they see what happened to whistleblowers. Here's what our move is right now, is to incorporate those people as, like, call them allies, or a team of agents. They there, they the good team. Not good team, they can't be good, but they're our support team. Because it's not about black and white anymore, it's about who will control America. Will America run its own business, or will they be handmaidens for the Zionists? So far, this one got out of hand. They know that the Zionists run their country, and there's enough of them that don't like it. It's enough of them don't like it. And they know that we definitely don't like it, and we're going to go out and do what we can, jump up and down. They're not going to do that at first. They're not going to show themselves. But we're appealing right now to the percentage. We've always, this is not new, we've always said that there's a percentage of people in the FBI and all these other security agencies. It's always a few true believers. They believe in the Constitution. They actually believe it. Okay. They know that everything they did do to us is unconstitutional. Everything. They can't mess with the cars out there, turn the lights out. They can't do that. That's against the law. If it happened once or twice, but if they have a whole history of that, right? Some people gonna get wind of it. Okay, that's the people that we're trying to organize. They have to organize themselves as the support mechanism. It's not about FBI and CIA anymore. It's about whether you will let the Israelis, and they're on the last leg, run your country, or will you run your country? That's where it is right now. You can see they're trying to make it look like Russia Russia don't have nothing to do with Putin. It's a Zionist. You ain't gonna throw no rock and break the window and say I did it. You're gonna say, look over there, right? So why is everybody pointing at Russia? Because he's told to be friendly with Russia and all that, and throw him off the scent, right? That's his orders. But what is he doing? He's destroying America. He's destroying it. He's destroying America. The Republican Party technically destroyed. That's part of his job. And go over our old things and see if we said that day one. Does anybody remember? We said that was his job, to destroy the Republican Party and to weaken the Democratic Party. Because divide, conquer, and rule is a system that the United States used on people, the British used on people, and the Israelis are using it on us. All of us. Get the Arabs, fight each other. That's why we say forgiveness for all the Negroes. I don't care. They can sit over there and lie and chew gum, right? Because ain't no sense of fighting them, right? Because in the Negroes, it might be 5 or 10 of them that's halfway all right. Even them mushmouth Negroes in New York or wherever they are, right? They might be, or they might get the Holy Ghost. You don't know. See, okay, all right. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam first come teaching Islam, what was the chances that the Quraysh and everybody else in Arabia was going to come to Islam? What is the chances of that? Suppose he did a risk management. Out of the risk, I ought to say I got too much. Lose too much. Shoot, I got Khadijah here, right? She got plenty of money, and I can make me 1 or 2 trips every few years up to Syria, right? And all them gods, 360 gods? Why? You think I'm gonna tell them people to worship one God, and they got all them gods, and somebody in Arabia come to worship one of them gods, right? Or 2, everybody done got their own special, right, little gods that they like in the Kaaba. And look at all the money they bringing in. Suppose he did that. He didn't do that. He said, La tatraba, right? No reproach on all of them. Abu Sufyan, all of them, right? The same thing we have to do with the Negroes. Okay, let me try to finish up here. So we have to redefine, at this stage, we have to redefine the same vocabulary that we've been using. Now remember, on our old stuff, we had archivist, documentalist, chronicler, historian, educator, trainer, and all that. In other words, this has been our job all along. It's not a new job, right? to archive, to keep records, physical, psychological, mental, of all the stuff that's going on. We've been doing it all the time. Make sure it's documented, chronicled, and then educate and training mean that, remember the other day we said about Bell and the cat. Y'all already heard that story, okay. But just for the heck of it, we'll tell it again. All animals got together. They said, this big cat is eating us all up, one by one. So they come up with a scheme. What are we going to do? We're going to put a bell around the cat, right? So that's a perfect idea. Then, now who's going to put the bell? Who's going to be stupid enough? Who's going to be bad enough? Who's going to be lucky enough to go up to the cat and put the bell around his neck? Right? That's us. That's what we did to the United States. Everybody all along, everybody is afraid of the United States. Well, we didn't show them we can survive. We're going to do what is right. It don't make no difference what you think, where you coming from. We're not going to do that because it ain't right. And that's going to win in the end. That's where we coming from. Some of them know it. Some of them know it. Not some of them, all of them know it. We saying the ones that are progressive, smart enough, wise enough, and they love their country enough to support where we coming from. They too scared. Now we in Bell the Cat 2. See, Bell the Cat number 1 was about the Americans, right? It took us so long to bell the cat that the people are so asleep that they didn't forgot about the whole thing, right? But bell the cat number 2 is the Israelis and the Saudis and all of those people. The Saudis are building up all of the enemies, everybody they talk about, the bad murderers and killers, the madrasa system. Who is it that fund them? Saudi Arabia. Right? And the Israelis. Don't worry about the Israelis. Netanyahu have people outside his house right now demonstrating. So, now, what do we have to use? Can you turn a little coolness? Just a pinch. Just for a minute. Anyway, let me finish up. So this is not risk management. It's not risk management dealing with the system. It's not risk management telling them, y'all get together and things are moving so fast, you know what we're going to need to do it. Just like I said the other day, when we go outside, it'll be just sitting there on the porch somewhere, right? And it's just what we need, right? They got it. We never thought that we would pull this off by ourselves. And believe it or not, go by what we've been saying. We never thought we would do it without the internal system playing a part. You got to think about it. So use some reason. If you're going to make a new world, all revolutions, in Iran, the revolution was solidified when the Air Force came along with the revolution. One of the systems within the system, when the Air Force joined the rebellion, it was all over. Why? Because an organized arm is there with the discipline and the physical control, right, to do the things that need to be done. Ideologically and spiritually, it takes a whole collaboration. Remember, we want to influence the direction of change. Remember that? We don't want to control nobody and make nobody do right. Okay, that's where we are now. But it's not that we're in a weak state, we're in a strong state. If we just want to keep cruising along, doing what we're doing, we could do that, but I don't think it would be part of our job. I don't think that would be part of our responsibility. What we've been chronicling and preparing, right? And documenting all this stuff, and then acting on it. Little stuff like how to punk the FBI. You don't know nobody that tell the FBI they're a bunch of punks. And that's simple, right? That ain't nothing big. But it's big to them. Who you calling a punk, nigga? Well, we'll do this to you and do that. Suppose you go down to the FBI office with how to punk the FBI, and you outside the FBI, and the people are coming, oh, thank you very much. That's the FBI. Oh, punk the FBI. Oh, thank you. Right? They already know. I'm telling you. When I called that snitch number and when they blew up the Murray's Federal Building, it had that number from over there. They said, we don't want to even hear it. I said, you got a snitch number. You got a snitch number. It said, if you got any information, call it. They didn't want to hear it because they know it was me calling, right? They know it was me calling, and I told them what I thought. I said, that Arab y'all got, it ain't him. I said, white folks did that. White folks did it. It's simple, right? If you blew up Waco, kill all the kids, right? They blew up, where did they put the truck in front of the nursery, right? It's right in front of the nursery, so they kill the white. You know how white folks do. They shoot. Eye for eye, tooth for a tooth. Justice prevailed, the Hammurabi Code of all things. Anyway, let me get here a few more minutes. So we don't feel uncomfortable incorporating, like you say. If a lady ain't called me in 10 years and called me and say, oh, I'm sorry I didn't stick around, whatever it was, something, what is it, that message? It was something like, I should have went to, but I'm ready now to go to California. I'm ready to go now. Okay, and I got a call a few weeks ago I haven't called back. But that's part of the curly-headed crew. It's not risk management, because the person may have evolved. And can't nobody hurt me, right? So other people will say, well, how you gonna mess with somebody and they might be funny? Not might be funny, hell, they are funny. They don't might be. Everything they do has been as funny. It's funny. They're part of the curly-headed crew. The curly-headed crew. So it's all right, but it's not risk management. Risk management is when you invest in a business and you got to figure out how much risk do I have to take to get me a return. It ain't that in Islam. There's no such thing as risk management. It's occult reason. But if you don't do the right thing, you're taking a risk of going to hell. Now that's a real risk management there. So anyway, I'll try to letter of introduction. Now, anybody that know any big shots, and we'd like to do it by the 15th. Remember, I made these up, so anybody that wants these, this is our taxes. I was trying to get a letter of introduction, but I don't have it. We go by and we tell the people who we are. It's freedom. You can go anywhere you want. If you go where I'm going, we just say, hey, we've been, I gave the guy one for Springfield. No, I gave, the little Afghani brother? Okay. This is about our taxes. Our taxes is about $8,000 or something, almost $9,000. So that adds up a little bit. So now remember, with all this gangster talk, we started from scratch. You know what I mean? I mean, when we say yeah, and it's not bad. It's good. It's healthy for you to be close to broke. When we gave our friend money before, we was down, remember that? $581. That was our resources. It was back to 100 in no time. But we want to, you can go to try to meet the board of directors, anybody you can, and tell them that they can take any one of these or all of them, right? Yeah, and just help us take care of it. Yeah, help us take care of it. So that's what we want to do with our taxes. I guess y'all had a meeting yesterday. I don't know what it was all about, but I'm sure it was fine. So whatever you kind of hooked up to do, just knock it on over. You don't have to have no permission or whatever, a slip say that I can do this. Just look around. That's the way I did all the brothers. When I would deal with like Imam Jamil's community or any of them, I just looked at what I thought they needed. That's why when Imam Jamil was in the county jail, he said, I want to thank you for everything you did or doing. I said, no, we thank Allah. He said, I've already thanked Allah. He said, you didn't come down here asking me what you need, what can I do. In fact, we took him something, it was something there the day he got arrested because we was going down there already. But anyway, I said many times I've been in the penitentiary, I don't have to ask nobody. All I have to do is what kind of case you got. Then I already know what to do. Many times I've been to jail, I don't have to ask nobody, what did the brother need, right? Okay, if you want to get him away, I ain't going to tell them, but see, here's what somebody was saying. Somebody was saying that somebody was going down there to hook him up, had a family with him anyway, so you travel as a family. Hit the Mexican border, see a lot of y'all, people coming up this way, freedom is coming up here. It's not that way with us. When we hit that Mexican border, boy, look at here. Start stretching out. I mean, soon as we get across the border. So a lot of us, for us, freedom goes the other way when you got cases. People going to. So that's what they was saying. They was going to take him with his family, hit that border, hit down, and then take a right turn later on in Yucatan and go to Belize. Belize is Negroes, used to be British Honduras. And maybe buy a ranch and just settle down for a couple of years. Don't do nothing, right? Just take it easy and relax. Yeah, raise bananas or fruit or anything. Just get your mind clear. Make your plan. They try to get you under pressure. Okay. So we did this. Review effects, attitude, exercise, diet, all of that stuff, peak performance. Each time you take on a new period like we are right now, this is when you go through your peak performance stuff. You improve your diet, improve your exercise, so you become a peak performer, right? And one of the last things, write your own book. We talked about that before. We believe not only writing our own book, but writing other people's part in the book. Used to we just write our own book. Now We want to write it where everybody got a good part, a big part. You know why? Because that's what it calls for. So, if you want drama, if you want adventure, this is the place to be. No, this is a great future. Hey, man, I don't care what nobody say. And I'm not going to repeat this, but maybe just once. From how many people do you know, like, just think about it, like in Oakland. Everybody know Oakland. East Oakland Enterprises, a black economic enterprise zone where everybody is getting money. All niggas get money for themselves. All the big Negroes, Ward brothers, pastor this and all that, they got money for themselves. But Oakland hit the map when East Oakland Enterprises kicked in. See, everybody else outside, they talk about the Black Panther Party. But inside of Oakland, they talk about us. Because that's what, right? Young black people buying their own houses. And this is in the late 60s and early 70s. You know, it's like you playing Godfather when you're 22, 23 years old. You leave the country when you're 26 and you feel old then. Of course, you feel young now. At 76, 75, you feel younger than you did when you left. But the point is that when you mention Mosi Otunji, nobody knows what that is. That's the great waterfall. Lake Victoria, they call it. It's a great waterfall. You know, how many people have been up and down the Nile, the pyramids? Angel Falls, 3,000-mile drop down in Venezuela. You might have saw it in some movies. Or the great ancient city of Machu Picchu. What I'm trying to say is all of that stuff, suppose you involved in every movement and every activity during your time, on the same level that we're involved in this, right? It don't make no difference whether nobody know it or not. You're not trying to win a profit, right? It doesn't make any difference whether the people know it or not. It's whether the job gets done. It's whether the job gets done. So, if they don't think that's an adventure, they have a problem. If they don't think it's fun, if niggas don't think it's fun to tell the FBI they come here, you say, hey, sit up straight when you're talking. They don't know how fun. That's fun. We don't do it anymore. But to get the point across, that's fun. Because everybody else, the government got something on you. Nigga, you better take this deal or you're going to rot in the penitentiary. Okay, boss man, I'll take it. Can't do that with us. That is fun. That's fun. Okay, and then all of our friends, I'm going to close with this. All our friends that was even headed in the right direction are rotting in the penitentiary. We didn't put them there, but if we can try to get them out. Especially if they're older than I am. That means they may not be around though, right? Another week or two, and then the white man, he do all kind of stuff when you're in the penitentiary that you can't see out here. You know. You put people in them rooms, it's all in just one color. That affects you. Your neck start getting small. You don't have perception management. Depth perception. See, even in here, it's green carpet. We got different color clothes on. Your eyes are always adjusting. Your body is adjusting, right? But if you're on that one thing all the time, pretty soon, you start shriveling up for no reason. Why? Because no depth perception. Everything is the same color. You don't make no adjustment. And they try to keep you as isolated as possible for as long as possible. They can't shoot. They used to couldn't keep you in the hole as long as they do now. They used had to bring you out every 29 days or something. Well, that was California. You know, of course they dirty. They bring you out one day and throw you back in the next on another trumped up. Boy, the old white man, that boy is something else. Okay, let me see. Okay. The last thing I'm going to mention is psychointerference, continuous interpretations and goals, focus and endurance. That's what we're dealing with right now. So, all the hijack demonstrations and all that that's going on now, we could talk about them at another date. Are there any questions, any comments? Did anybody, go ahead.
After reading it, I guess a comment and a question. One, do we as a community, one, have a right to comment on something that's happening in their organization? That's number one.
Well, this letter was from Imam Jamil, and it's, well, we should discuss it. Yeah, we should discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, just on observation, why would
You can turn the air off now.
why
Go ahead.
would this information, or why would this brother down there come out now when he's had so many years to do this? It seems that all of a sudden, when it seems like there's some momentum of Imam Jamil coming home,
Right.
new evidence, this information comes out.
Yeah. Okay. We could turn off those things for now, and if it's